Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Bible Thumper Podcast, where somebody's got to say it. My name is Patrick Hayes, your regular host, and with me tonight in the studio, Zachariah King. Zach, how are you doing this evening?
I'm back. I'm a little wiped out.
Well,
A longer than normal weekend.
You had a busy weekend.
It's a busy weekend. It'll
Big
be
event.
a big event. It'll be a shorter than normal Monday, though.
Oh,
So
yeah?
I'm
You have a little bit of time off
I
to
got some
try to
time.
recoup.
Yeah. We had a good weekend, though. The girls in Kenya are going to be happy. We gave them a little. Oh, here you go. I didn't even think of this before.
What happened?
Dude, I've got a Segway.
Oh, okay.
This will be good radio.
Boy, I can't wait. Usually it's just clumsy from one subject to another.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
Since I didn't think of it before, and now I've introduced it twice, I've just messed the whole thing up completely.
All right, give it a shot.
But
we can edit all of this. You want to talk about hunting now or physical fitness, and then move back in? We can do it. People, they're not going to know.
The elk is what I need to ask you about organs and all sorts of things. But no, we had a fundraiser this weekend for the girls, and they have fallen into some financial security.
Oh,
for the
okay,
next
yeah.
Several,
Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, so
let me get all the total numbers.
Let me get the background.
Yes.
Okay. She has a name .info.
Correct.
Is the website for the ministry / charity that we're talking about, and it is a ministry that helps girls who are trapped in the cycle of prostitution-based poverty or poverty-based prostitution.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, get them out of that and get them away from that and get them into a school and pay the bills for the girls and buy them clothes and their food and a safe place to live and the whole thing. So trying to get them out of one of the slums in Nairobi, Kenya, right outside. And there's a lot of folks that live in these slums, and there is very little to no way for a lot of these people to make money for their families. So what a lot of parents resort to is using their daughters as prostitutes to help support the family. And the ministry, she has a name, goes over there and tries to do something about it. And I've been loosely, I don't want to say involved, but aware, aware is a safe word.
You've been fairly involved.
And just trying to, get the word out and help people, help raise support for the ministry. So anyway, once every year, you guys have a big craft fair as a fundraiser, and that was this last weekend, which is why you're wiped out.
Yes.
And the big exciting news is that the girls got their own piece of property over in Kenya, which was announced on this podcast.
Yeah.
I was here. Yeah. And she was talking about it. So anyway, the land has been secured, and now a well has been dug. And tell us what happened with that and why. Okay, there's no pipes in the ground bringing water to any place outside of the city.
I mean, it kind of depends where you're at and what people are up to. So there are some wells nearby, but there's nothing.
It's not like in the city, the capital city of Nairobi, Kenya, where you turn on your faucet and there's water just like everywhere else.
Which is even less reliable, though, than what we would think of.
Okay.
So the land where the girls are at, there's no such thing as city plumbing.
Sure.
Where you're just like, you build a new house. All we got to do is pick it up the main line.
Just dig a trench out to the road. Hook up the gas.
What's a main line?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have 2 acres. We drilled the well for several reasons. One is to have reliable water for the girls themselves. Yeah. Right. I mean,
to have consistent water that you can manage, filter, clean, purify, and drink, bathe, cook with.
We know where it comes from, all of it. That way we don't have to have water delivered, which is not only an advantage, but we also have to have
pay the expense.
People, pay the expense to do it, pay the upcharge of having the water come in from wherever. We don't have to have random people showing up all the time to deliver water.
Yeah.
That can be a sensitive issue.
Security issue.
Mhm. So we've got all of that. The thing that I'm most excited though about is there is so much water coming out of that thing.
Mhm.
I want the girls to start a business.
Yeah.
And sell it.
Sure. Because everyone has to, we all buy water from somewhere, and none of us are collecting rain from our roof.
Right.
Okay.
And,
so,
except for in the city, and particularly in the richer parts of the city, but even in large parts of the city, you maybe even up to half or so of the population of Nairobi itself, you buy an amount of water, they put it into a tanker truck
Mhm.
and drive the tanker truck to your house, and you'll have a 10,000 cistern,
Mhm.
2,500 gallons or so, and then they'll pump it into that.
Mhm.
And I mean, I've seen really, really nice apartment complexes that house probably 300 or 400 people
with a big water tower on top.
20 of
No
25
kidding.
of them.
Okay.
I mean,
This is a regular thing.
if you fly over Nairobi in a helicopter, these little black dots everywhere,
All over the place. Okay.
all over the place. So not only to be able to have that and take care of it on our own, that's huge, but to be able to also sell water from there.
Sure.
Sold at a decent price. We can help the immediate community. I think it's just a win-win all the way around. So we're working through it.
No.
Going on there.
Keep going. I'll bring it up later.
Please do.
Nope.
Well,
nope.
just make the note.
I'm writing it down. And so that's great news, because it really can turn the property into an asset where maybe we could, it could be producing income rather than just a constant financial drain.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that obviously is the lead up to the segue.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the segue.
Okay. So assets and liabilities. Speaking of assets and liabilities. Okay, so what we want to do is, because my church, the Church of Grace in Grand Junction, Colorado, is putting on a financial class or a financial seminar, which is going to be, we're going to talk about finances for, we have it in the calendar for 4 weeks. We might go a fifth week if there's, a lot of questions or whatever, but we have it planned for the first 4 weeks, Wednesday nights in January. Because of that, every podcast through the month of December, we're going to be talking about money. And I think it's pretty appropriate, because if there's ever a time for people in America to kind of go broke or go further into debt, it's usually around the Christmas season, where we try to make up for being lousy parents through the whole year by buying our kids a whole bunch of presents that they don't need with money that we don't have.
Excellent.
To impress all the people in the world that we don't like.
Those all sound like Christian things, Patrick.
So because of that, we're talking about money this whole month. My wife and I got on last week and talked about it. You and I, Caleb and I, are going to next week talk about money and the Bible and Christianity and church and the whole thing.
Very cool.
So wherever this is going to end up going, I would just like to, keep it in the arena of money.
Yes.
So let me ask you a question, Zach.
Well, the only thing I was going to ask is, do you know what Joanna or Caleb or anybody wants to talk about in particular? Just so I don't.
Joanna and I talked about money with families, and we really got onto, mostly we focused on the budget.
Okay.
Having a budget, needing a budget, the idea behind the budget, what the budget fixes, kind of that's what we were talking about. As far as Caleb, who knows? He's third in line, so, he's going to get whatever.
Take left.
Yeah. We can go in any direction you want. But let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Do you know what an endowment is?
An endowment? No, Patrick, I don't.
Okay.
Why don't you tell us?
Well, the reason I bring it up is because I brought this up to the founder and chairwoman of She Has a Name. And she looked at me with a big blank stare, as if she's never heard of the word before. And I said, okay. I said, here's what you got to understand for this charity. Do you guys call it a charity? Do you call it a ministry? What do you? It depend on the audience you're talking to.
It's a 501c3.
Okay.
But
so
it's a ministry.
Sure.
I mean, so
there's a church over in Nairobi, Kenya, that has boots on the ground locally helping and being a partner in this charity?
We have one person that
Uh-huh.
talks to the girls, to the girls in the program, on a weekly, bi-weekly sort of basis. One American.
Mhm.
Her job is to disciple them.
Okay. And is that the wife of?
The ministry.
Okay.
No, that's Tennille. Yeah, I think you know Tennille.
Yeah, the wife of Moses.
No.
Oh,
She does some work there for us too, but we have an American who calls and talks with the girl. She's been over.
and she lives in America.
Yes.
Okay. No. I know who Neil is.
Yes.
Okay. I was not aware of that. All right. So, what I was explaining to Blythe is what an endowment is, and I said, look, what you guys need to be doing, and this is multi-generational vision that we need to add to She Has a Name. Okay, so this is my suggestion. Of course,
lay it on.
it's free advice. Okay, it's worth
perfect
exactly as much as it costs. So Harvard, Zach.
Yes.
Do you know how Harvard is able to build all those big new fancy buildings and purchase real estate and spend money like it's going out of style on all these incredible, amazing, beautiful things to make their campus and their amenities attractive to the next generation of, children that are going to go there
to Harvard?
Yeah, go to Harvard.
My guess is going to be with endowment.
So they have, Harvard has an endowment. So they collect money from alumni. And what they do is they don't spend all of this money. What they do is they take a portion of it and they set it aside for investments.
For investment. Okay. Yes.
And that endowment has grown to over $50 billion. So
this is a concept then that I have pitched for more than several years. I just haven't called it an endowment.
Okay.
But,
So the goal is you take a percentage. What percentage you guys are going to come up with? But we take a percentage and we set it aside and we start investing that and having it grow. And the idea is we do that with every cent that comes in to She Has a Name. Rather
than having like a designated. So like I've pitched this most recently with the funds from water, particularly when we don't have anybody living there yet.
Yeah.
I mean, if it takes us 2 years to build
to get the wall up and so here's the thing.
700 days of selling water.
Okay. So have you heard of the book, The Richest Man in Babylon?
I've heard of it.
Okay.
I have not read it.
It's a great book. And honestly, it's a great one for anybody to use as a audiobook. It's told in the style of a story talking about the richest man in Babylon. Obviously, Babylon is a city 90 miles southeast of Baghdad that is, in ruins and is no longer inhabited. But we think of Babylon as being the capital of the world empire. It's, a biblical empire we read about back in 586. The nation of Babylon surrounded Jerusalem, laid siege to it, and took away all the Jews captive, including a very famous fellow by the name of Daniel. And Daniel moved to Babylon, and he remained there until the time of his death. Okay, so that was just for anyone that doesn't know what Babylon is. Not for you. I know that you are caught up at least this far in the Bible. Okay. I know your level of Bible interest.
I'm only allowed to know about 3/5 of
it. Yeah. So The Richest Man in Babylon, it's a phenomenal book. It's a book that I think every adult, every Christian should read, their kids should read. It's very easy to go through. But when you're going through The Richest Man in Babylon, one of the sections is how to cure. I'm going to look it up because I just had it and I was going over it, but I want to quote it correctly. So, okay, when we're here, we're going to go to, let's see, 7 cures for a lean purse. So of the 7 cures for a lean purse, one of the cures is control thy expenditure. And one of the principles in this chapter is that there is a miraculous instance that takes place as soon as your income rises. And that miraculous instance is that your necessities immediately rise up to your new level of income.
It's just like if you have a bigger house,
You got it.
all of a sudden it fills up.
Fills up with stuff.
Yeah.
So many Christians do this and they make the mistake, whereas we were making $50,000 a year, and now 3 years later we've gotten raises and we're making $55,000 a year. Well, your income has gone up by 10%. That can be massively helpful to somebody's budget, unless they don't have a budget and then all of that money gets spent.
Sure.
And everyone says it's on necessities. But if your money can go up as soon as your income rises, then it can also go down. So now you guys have this piece of land and you have this asset.
Yes.
Okay. That is found money. It is not a line item in the budget yet. Now, could you find a reason for that money? Could you find a use for it? Obviously.
Well, sure.
We
Yeah.
have a brand new piece of property. We need to build a wall, and we need to lay a foundation for buildings, and we need roads coming in. We need a million things to do.
Yes.
But all of that is a vision for a single generation. So my question to Blythe was, well, what does She Has a Name look like in 100 years? And she's like, I mean, we're just trying to get through,
We're trying to get to June.
Yeah, exactly. We have a budget meeting coming up in January. We need to talk about who's thinking about that. That's what an endowment is for. So the idea is we take a percentage of every dollar that comes in. We take a big percentage of this water. Okay, so much of it, great. It goes into the general fund and it's going to help with whatever projects we're doing. But there's an amount that what we're going to do is we're going to start investing in. We're going to have that start growing.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, the endowment is going to be kicking back an amount of money every year where it can cover one girl. It can cover two girls. It can cover, and all of a sudden, it'll get to a point where the endowment is producing more money than anything else you guys could ever do, no matter how many people you get this ministry in front of.
There's a lot of nonprofits that operate that way.
Absolutely.
A lot.
Sure. And everybody should be doing this. Now, that capital fund, that we're going to label the endowment, that pool of money, that can be used if emergency strikes, if catastrophe happens. You have an amazing, savings account there. But you can have that grow to a point where it's like, look, we really don't need to go out and tell everyone about this and try to get money from people. Or if we do, the only thing we do is we take that money and just add it to the endowment. And that ends up being our budget.
Well, and there's a lot of people who really enjoy giving that way.
Yes.
Like it's amazing that we had a little section out there where you there's QR codes, you hit the QR code, and there's a little tag that says, this $50 is going to buy food for one girl for a month.
Sure.
And that's in December.
Yeah.
So and so is going to eat because I
gave this much.
And you're like, that's
great.
Cool too.
Yeah, exactly. I know what it's doing.
But there's a lot of guys that you walk up to and they go, I'll give you $5,000 today.
Yes.
If you turn it into $25,000 to spend it 10 years from now.
And that's really what you want to do, because people that will write you 5, 6, and 7-figure checks, and they're out there.
Oh, sure.
Those people have the reason they're able to write 5, 6, and 7-digit checks.
They've done it.
You got it. Is because they understand the system. They know how money operates, and they know how to work, finances to make it last forever. So they would want, rather than giving money today, and just giving you a fish.
Yeah.
I don't remember where this story came from.
No.
But instead we can teach someone how to fish, and they can have fish forever. So that's the idea that I hope ends up happening. She has. I've
been pushing stuff, and she's totally open to it.
Yeah.
I've been pushing something very, very similar. I just didn't know that was the word
Yeah.
you used for it.
Yep.
But
Well, and to be honest with you, I don't know if it would technically be called an endowment. I don't know if an endowment is technically supposed to come from alumni of the program. But anyway,
I don't know that it has to be necessarily.
yeah. But that was something else that I brought up, is that you guys are going to have alumni.
Yeah.
And one of the things these girls should be taught every year, at least along with, basic finances, is this concept that you have a duty, okay, to support this ministry and help the next girls. It doesn't have to be a massive amount. It doesn't have to be an amount that puts you out.
Sure.
But you are going to get out of here. You're going to get a good job. You're going to get a husband. You're going to have a normal life. You're going to be making money. And one thing that you need to be able to do is to give back. And all that money that comes in from alumni, once again, right into the endowment.
Into the endowment.
You got, so that way it can last for centuries.
Yes.
That's the goal. Let's start with decades. Okay.
I asked you one time what would happen after she was done.
Yeah.
And
again, with wide eyes, like, oh, I never thought about that. Well, and something else you got to remember, that you always want, with a big undertaking like that, you want an exit strategy. And you should really start planning your exit strategy as soon as you get the ministry going, as soon as you get the church going, as soon as you get whatever, because the fact is we're going to die. Whether we want to or not, it's going to happen. So we should, we should have some type of vision as far as, okay, who am I going to pass this on to? Who am I going to train? How's that process going to work? At what point am I going to be able to hand over, the reins?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Okay. So
Cool.
that was that.
That's good.
Yep. Where do you want to go from here?
Well,
what are your thoughts?
We had talked, I think, the extent of focused preparation that I've done for tonight. Other than, living and operating for 40 years and being married for 16 and having a family. Yeah. We did talk a little bit about Dave Ramsey's baby steps.
Oh, yeah.
Have you tackled debt yet?
On me personally?
No, I mean, just in general on the podcast as you're teaching through.
No. Okay. So you want to go? Well, we could talk about that in a biblical
manner. We
can
talk about debt for a little bit, because I am just, I circled back around recently to some of Dave Ramsey's teachings a little bit. Jess and I took the Financial Peace class. Gosh, we must have been just married before Ellie was born.
Yeah.
And so we have lived with no debt or extremely low debt for our entire marriage.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, it's the only way I can live life the way that I do now.
Yeah.
If I had even just 2 car payments, I'd have to quit both of the things I'm doing now and go find another job.
Sure.
So it's created a lot of freedom for us. But when you start thinking about some of the statistics on debt, when you're talking about an endowment that grows, well, debt is money that you never had, that you already spent.
Yeah.
And by the time you pay it off, you've paid more than you would have spent.
Oh, yeah.
If you had it.
Yeah.
It's the compound interest, but it works backwards. It works against you. And it's just, that's a noose.
Well, a lot of people don't. One of the worst parts is that the way people get into debt is they actually typically get into the absolute worst type of debt. And that type of debt is credit card debt, because it is such a high interest rate. So to give you an example, if you ended up with a $2,600 credit card balance, and that credit
washing machine,
probably Zach and I both heard on the phone, and we didn't know what that was. Let me.
Either that or the boys are up to something.
Yeah. Sorry. I know this is dead air, and it's at 25 minutes. So I'll go through and I'll delete it for the podcast.
Good, because I'm not going to sing or anything.
Yeah. No, I get it. Okay, there we go. So if you end up with, and this is from memory, so forgive me if this is not correct, but I want to say if you end up with $2,600 credit card debt, and which let's call the average 20% APR. That's the interest, and that's low for today. Okay, that's low for today. But let's say that you owe that amount of money. You stop using the credit card, and you only pay the minimum payment. You are going to end up paying over $6,000 to pay off that, $2,500, and it's going to take you something like 15 years.
Goodness.
Oh yeah, 15 years. So you're really paying about 260% per dollar for the purchases you're making. And that's what people don't understand is that when you go out and buy things with a credit card, you and the wife go out for your anniversary, you have a real nice meal, it's $100, you put it on the credit card, you don't have money, then you just pay the minimum payment, you're going to end up paying $260 for that meal because you paid it on a credit card and you paid it off over a dozen years rather than simply saving up the money and just living, within your means. The problem is living within our means isn't really all that fun or sexy,
Oh, yeah, clearly.
Responsibility is not exciting. That's not,
don't say.
yeah, there's not a big, dopamine dump in your brain from responsibility. So
I didn't go out and eat today.
Yeah. So anyway, people are, really willing to get into debt and stay into debt because, shiny, fun, exciting things like four-wheelers and snowmobiles and new vehicles and all these things, usually we can only get them through debt because we can't afford them. That's what it comes down to. So what we do is we pay for them a little bit at a time. I always tell every Christian, I say, look, go downtown to the biggest building in any major city.
Sure.
It's owned by a bank. It is owned by a bank that issues credit cards. That's how they get them. So when we go through the Bible, and I think I found it here in Deuteronomy chapter 28. Let me see. Yeah, here in Deuteronomy chapter 28, just to give everyone, the tiny little kind of background on it. The first 13, 14 verses are about all the blessings that you're going to have in your life if you obey God. And then after that, from verses 15, all the way down to like verse 68, are all the curses that you're going to have on your life if you don't obey God. One of the blessings, it says, the Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven to give the rain unto thy land in this season, and to bless all the work of thine hand, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. So lending and not borrowing is considered a blessing. And then later on, when we read through the curses, God talks about how borrowing is a curse. So a lot of Christians I've heard tell people that debt equals sin. And I don't believe that. I don't believe the Bible says that anywhere. But what the Bible does say is that it is a curse and the borrower is servant to the lender.
Yes.
So you are literally a slave to he whom you owe money to. So if that's what the Bible says, then I should not want to get into debt. I should do everything I can to get out of debt and stay out of debt for my entire life. It's a curse, and it is as if I am in slavery. Zach, have you ever been a slave?
Well, yes.
I mean, working on a chain gang. Okay,
been
digging ditches, owned by another individual,
kidnapped.
Yeah,
and no, I have not.
Well, let me tell you, it doesn't look appealing.
No.
I have not been a slave either, but I've read plenty about it. I've seen some great movies that are pretty colorful, and no aspect of it seems to be great. And Christians all over American churches are voluntarily putting themselves into slavery and thinking that they are bettering themselves.
To used car salesmen.
Yeah, used car salesmen. It's absolutely insane. So again, I don't say that that is a sin, because it's not. If someone can show me that in the Bible, please show it to me. Is it a curse? Absolutely. Is it like you're a slave? Absolutely. Should you avoid it at all costs? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I will also explain to people, if you are going to get into debt, there is a biblical way to do it. And I don't, oh yeah.
Please show. Yeah.
So, and my laptop, I literally left outside with all of my notes. So I'm like just trying to remember all these verses as we go. So bear with me.
No, this is good. No, I'm interested to hear this, because clearly, and like I said, it's been a while since I've gone through everything on this as well.
Yeah. Okay, so
even if you're just talking about advantage and disadvantage,
yeah.
If you are spending $400 a month on a payment, for an asset that is decreasing, and by the time you get to the end of it, you finally owe it, it breaks down, you have to do it again.
Sure.
Or you own the asset completely out of the gate, and you spend the $400 buying or investing in assets that increase in value, then over the course of time, having no debt is going to be a gigantic advantage. So
you're absolutely right. You're tying up money, future money, and giving it away and getting nothing in return. Okay, so let me explain this. Go to Psalm chapter 37, and I'm going to go down to verse 12. Nope, that's not it. Let me see that again. Psalm 37, verse 21. There's my dyslexia. Psalm 37, verse 21, the wicked borroweth and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. So what the wicked do is they borrow and they don't pay it back. That is wicked in God's eyes. If we do that as a Christian, God considers us wicked. Let me tell you, Zach, wicked people are not blessed of God. There is no blessings that come with wickedness and sin. So here's the problem. Christians borrow. Did you find it? 37 verse 21.
I got it. I was just trying to do something here.
No, you're good. So what Christians do is they borrow incorrectly all the time. Now, let me start by saying this. You don't want to borrow anything. Or I should say, you don't want to borrow for anything. With that being said, there's one really difficult purchase to make without borrowing, and that is a home.
That is correct.
Okay, the property in the house, it's such a massive purchase. In order to be able to save up and make that purchase in cash, it's very, very difficult for the average person. Depending on the industry you're in and the amount of money, maybe you can do it. And that's wonderful if you can. But for the average person, it's impossible. So we're going to talk about that. But I also want to just go over the whole concept of borrowing on the second largest item that we typically borrow money on, and that is the automobile. So rule number one, never, ever, 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 ever buy a brand new vehicle. Ever.
Yeah.
Because it loses 1/5 of its value. 20% of its value is gone the second you drive it off the lot.
So by the time you sit in it,
you got to
sign the paperwork.
So that means that you buy a vehicle, brand new vehicle. I don't know what a brand new vehicle go for. You're buying a brand new pickup truck for $50,000. It's an outrageous amount, right? People used to buy houses for not a whole lot more.
Yes.
But now we're buying vehicles. You buy a brand new pickup truck for $50,000. You drive it off the lot, and it's immediately worth $40,000. Now, you bought it on some kind of stupid loan where you put zero money down. So you owe $50,000 on that truck. Your insurance company is covering that truck, but they are covering that truck for the value of the truck to replace the truck
in full.
You got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you, who are upside down on this truck, end up wrecking this truck, will your insurance cover the amount that you owe on this truck? My point being, and you see, Christians,
because they won't.
Yeah. Christians don't understand that it is your responsibility to make sure that the person who sold you that truck, that auto dealer, it is your responsibility to make sure that they are made whole. Otherwise, you just broke Psalm 37, verse 21. For the wicked borroweth and payeth not again. You can't say, oh, well, my insurance company only, did the depreciated value of the truck after it's a year old. And guess what? The payments that I was paying on the truck didn't go down to get past the initial 20% that I already lost by driving the vehicle off the lot. So that means that, there's still money left. Well, you owe that money. It's your responsibility to make sure they are made whole. Now, I tell everyone what you should be doing is you should be saving up money so the day that your vehicle dies, you have money to replace it. This happened to Joanna and I.
Yes, it did.
Back when we had the Excursion. So I don't remember how many years ago that was. It was 5 years ago, maybe more. And we had a Ford Excursion. We loved it because we had a big family. Mm-hmm. We needed an SUV with third row seating. And we saved up money. And we've always been big savers and really a big believer in this concept. So we were saving money for the eventual, one day the vehicle is going to die and we're going to need another one. And we do not want to have vehicle payments. The Excursion was owned free and clear.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, this thing, we're driving up onto the Mesa and the transmission goes out and just melts down into a puddle and the thing is dead. Okay. So we don't want to spend all that money to rehab a vehicle that was that old and had that many miles. So we had it towed. We ended up selling the vehicle, several months later for, a couple $1,000s, but we needed to go and buy a vehicle. We ended up finding a Toyota Sequoia because you got to remember, we needed a vehicle with third row seating to fit my wife and 6 kids, and we needed it soon.
Yeah.
We weren't going to look all over the world and wait for months. Like, I'm going to work. She needs to be able to go around and put all these kids around. So we go around town, we find a vehicle that we like, ended up being $18,000. After taxes and whatnot, it was like 20 grand. And we're like,
yeah,
that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay. That is not, that is going to really hurt the budget, the payment on $20,000 with zero down. That's going to be like a $600 payment.
Yes.
Zach, do you know how many people have $600 automobile payments?
I would guess as a family,
all of them. All of them.
Probably average.
It's insane the number of people that have $400, $500, $600, $700 automobile payments. So many of them, it would make you sick to your stomach. So Joanna and I are like, okay, we need the vehicle. And we're like, but wait a minute. We're on the savings plan. We put money aside every month. And we go home to the safe that's right behind you and we crack it open. We find a white envelope that says new car on it.
Yep.
And we open that up and we count it out. And guess what? $14,000.
Hey.
Now, it was not plenty.
Sure.
But let me tell you, $14,000 down on that car sure made a difference in the payment.
You bet it does.
And then we said, okay, now we're in a debt. We don't like being here. So we stopped everything our money was going towards and we threw it all at that vehicle. And that, $6,000 we had remaining on that vehicle had it paid off in 1 year.
1 year.
Under 12 months. Yeah. And boom, without a payment. Okay. So then we're back to our plan. We're saving up because the vehicle is going to be needed. Okay. And we go through that process and we save and we save. And there's a percentage that we set aside every single month, of whatever dollar comes in. And for us, we're self-employed. So we don't deal with dollar amounts. We deal with percentages.
Yeah.
Okay. Because one month we make very little and one month we make a lot more. So being self-employed, it's all over the place. So we deal with percentages for our budget line items. So we set aside. All of a sudden it comes to the same point where my work truck, almost 30 years old.
Wow.
Okay. Is 28 years old. Everything's falling apart on this thing. And it's like, okay, it's time. Like, we're spending so much money rehabbing this thing. And it's the kind of vehicle where you got to lower the window and reach through the window and open the door from the outside handle, because the inside ones are,
you're speaking my language.
So it's one of those where nothing works. The radio doesn't work. The lights are not working. They're held in with duct tape. I mean, that's how I deal with vehicles. I drive them until they're in pieces.
Yeah. So
we finally found a great deal. We find a vehicle that's going to work, yada, yada, yada. Once again, what do? We go back to the safe. We open up an envelope. Guess how much is in the envelope? Every single dollar we need. That van we bought, bought it for cash. You got it.
Yes.
So the first vehicle, we bought when we were newly married and just dumb as rocks.
Oh, yeah.
We had a couple $100 to throw at the down payment,
Yes.
And it's like, this sucks. So we learn, we've read Dave Ramsey books and we've gotten on a good plan for saving, and we've been doing this. And Zach, now you've only known me in this house, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So you never knew me in our downtown 100-year-old 2-bedroom, 900 square foot house we lived in with 8 kids.
Jess and I we only had 2 kids, but we were in a 2-bedroom apartment down by the college for 11 years.
Yeah.
So all of the years of my marriage, we've never lived really flashy lives. We've never had super nice vehicles. We've never dressed in the nicest, clothing. We don't go on big, rich vacations. We don't do any of those things. We have always tried to control thy expenditures.
Yeah.
Okay. We live as far below our means as we can, so that we have the money to save, so that when the big problem hits, we can throw cash at it, and we don't have to worry about being in debt, being a slave, being under a curse.
Yep.
And we don't have to worry about Psalm 37:21, borrowing and not being able to pay back. Now, in the same way, back in 2008, that's when we bought our first house.
Oh, yeah.
We bought our first house at the tippy top.
And it's not this one.
No.
Yeah.
100-year-old house downtown.
Okay.
Right at the very top of the bubble, right before it popped. And all real estate just went crashing down.
Yeah.
And, we lost like 40, 50% of the value of our home, over the course of a year and a half. Yeah. I mean, it was bloody. We bought a house right then. I have never I have never blown a gasket and yelled at somebody.
Yeah.
Like I did to our realtor when we were looking for houses.
Whoa.
And
now this I can imagine.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And the reason was, and this was my fault. I used a friend as a realtor. Don't ever use a friend as a realtor. Ever. Oh, but so-and-so just got their license. Don't use them. Okay? It's a professional relationship.
Yeah.
Hire a professional. Do not use a friend. So I told our friend, okay, who was the wife of my friend.
Oh, boy.
I said, look, this is what we can afford. I had a number.
Yeah.
I knew the interest rates. I knew what the loan payment was going to be. I said, this is what we can afford. This is the money we have to put down, yada, yada, yada. I did the math.
How many houses before you got to the one you could afford?
So that was the problem. So the first one they brought us that we were brought to was like, okay, we looked at it and we're like, it's not bad, but we're gonna keep looking. And then what she would do is she would send us an email with the info sheet on this house, before we would go and look at it. And she'd be like, yeah, these are the three that I found. And I would look at the three, and all of them were like $50,000, $75,000 more than what I said I could afford.
Yeah.
And I called her up and I was like, hey, what's going on? She's like, what do you mean? I said, you're sending me houses that are way over what I said I could afford. Now, she said, because obviously you do the paperwork with your realtor, who usually introduces you to a lender. And this is something people need to understand. You pick the lender. It's not up to your realtor. Your realtor works for you, and you get to choose the lender. Don't just go with whatever lender they say, because they're picking their friend. Well, guess what?
Then you're a friend of a friend of a friend.
The realtor and the lender, how do they make their money? They make a percentage off of what they sell you.
Well, clearly.
So they want to upsell you. So the lender is like, Patrick's saying he wants a house for $150,000. And the realtor's like, first of all, which is illegal. Okay. They're not supposed to be, conspiring against you.
My percentage on that is no good.
Yeah, it's barely worth selling this thing.
$225.
I got to do an hour and a half of work to make a commission on a $150,000 house. That's not acceptable. Okay, so they're talking and they're like, his numbers, because the lender has your social and your bank statements and your taxes and the whole thing. They know what they can.
Oh, this guy can afford.
This guy can afford $225.
Yeah, sure.
So guess what? The realtor starts showing us. Okay, and she says, yeah, but you can afford this, and these houses are going for a steal.
Oh,
they should be listed at $300,000. Okay, you should be thanking your lucky stars that I'm bringing you these things.
Meanwhile, next week it's going to be 100.
Yeah, exactly. They can't see into the future. And I'm like, no, we got to find something else. And we look at another house, and we're like, And we're like, okay, find some more. And the same thing, I'm getting all these houses that are way over. And we meet, and she is like, let me just show you this one. It is so amazing. You and your wife are gonna love it. And for me, I'm thinking, yeah, I don't doubt I'm gonna love it. It's a really expensive, beautiful house, which is why I can't afford it. So we go to the house and we look at it, and she starts telling my wife. She's not even talking to me. Oh, just think of what you can do here, and look at this and all this stuff. And, and she's talking about it. And I tell her again, I say, look, here's the deal. We can afford this. And she's like, well, but you really can afford more. And, this is such a good deal. And I lose my mind, and I just scream at her.
Oh,
I said, well, are you going to fork up the extra 75 grand? And eyes are like this big. I said, because I'm not. So if you want my signature on a piece of paper, you will find me a house for this price, or you're fired. Holy cow.
You are so hardcore, man. That's hilarious.
So anyway, I found a house.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm driving around, not looking for a house, and this guy walks out to the front yard and sticks a sign in the ground.
Wants you to do it as you
I
drive by.
pull in the driveway. I jump out. I don't even talk to him. I look in two windows of the house that had shades up, and I call my realtor. I told her the address. I said, make an offering for the asking price. Bought a house for $130,000.
Oh, man. You are just, I talked to your mom the other day.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I always got stories.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. So, but how long were you there?
We were there, I want to say 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Now, we held on to it for about 15. and we kept it out as a rental.
You were still renting that when I made it.
Yeah. And
So
when
by
we
the time you
sold it,
it had
Zach, when
recouped.
we sold it, I ended up walking away from the table with a cashier's check for $175,000
Wow, yeah.
after the bank was paid off.
And I know part of the deal with Ramsey's deal is that one of the reasons why the home is, you don't want to say like good.
No, but here's how it works.
Yeah.
When we bought our house, we did a conventional loan
Mhm.
and we put down 20%.
Yeah.
So that way, even if you die the next day,
Yeah.
you get a horrible disease, you lose your job, whatever catastrophe hit,
Yeah.
the bank can be made whole because they already now repossess the house and own an asset
Yes.
for 80% of the value. They bought this house because you already gave them 20% down. So they are in a position where when you're paying down your mortgage over let's say you sign a 15-year mortgage, which is what we encourage people to do, you're paying down that house every month for 15 years. You will never be in a position where if something happens and that lender, that bank, has to eat the house and they have to repossess the house and then try to sell it to recoup their money, they will not be at a loss. And that is the Christian way to purchase things if you have to go into debt. Now, the goal is that you get out of debt and you never get back into debt again, other than to buy a home. You buy your cars with cash, you buy vacations with cash, you buy everything in your life with cash. But if you're going to buy a home, you put 20% down, you get a 15-year mortgage, and then your lender can be made whole.
Is 20% sort of a magic number there? Or
Well,
is that shift and move?
Okay, so here's the thing. If you're doing a conventional loan, it used to be 20%.
Yeah.
Then it went down to 10%. It might even be lower. I'm going to have to check.
Yeah.
The problem, okay, so again, here's the problem. What far too many Christians do is they listen to their realtor and their lender as to what they can afford.
Well, Patrick, they're experts.
Yeah. Okay. You cannot listen to those people. Because if you listen to them and you buy the house, that just because a bank will loan you an amount of money does not mean you should borrow that amount of money.
Oh, sure.
People go to the mat. What can we borrow? And then it's like, well, that's not enough to get the house of our dreams, so let's borrow 20 grand from mom and dad as well. And
inflation changes by 1%.
You got it. And all of a sudden, everything falls apart. And that's the problem, is you cannot overbuy on your house. If you make that one mistake, you can take years and years of sound financial planning in your life and just flush it down the toilet with one massive stupid purchase. You cannot take the maximum amount of money that the bank will loan you. That just because the bank will give you that money, it doesn't mean that you can afford it. So you want to borrow an amount of money that you can afford. You want to put down a massive amount of money as a down payment. You do want to put down 20%. Okay.
Yeah.
Just because they will let you put down 10%, you shouldn't do it. Just because you can get an FHA loan and you can put down 3%, you shouldn't do it. And just because you can borrow 105% of the value of the house with nothing down and then take the extra 5% and fill it with brand new furniture does not mean you should do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people do. People all of a sudden, they just see big, new, shiny stuff and they want it all and they borrow to the max and then they turn around and they realize, man, we can't afford this. And then now, this is another problem that people don't understand. Do you know what mortgage insurance is? It's deadbeat insurance. That's what it is. Do you know why mortgage insurance came around? Mortgage insurance came around back during the era of Bill Clinton because Bill Clinton said that people all not being able to buy a house is racist. And there are certain people that, disproportionately are not able to get into a home.
Get a house.
Yeah. Now, Bill Clinton said that those were minorities. They weren't minorities that weren't getting into homes, Zach. They were poor people that couldn't
People
afford
who
homes.
I was.
Okay.
Sure, of
So
course.
that's why they weren't getting into homes. So all of a sudden, bada bing, presto changeo, magic fairy dust, and now we're going to loan money to everybody under the sun, and everybody can get into the house. Well, that didn't change the fact that everybody couldn't afford a house. So all of a sudden, guess what goes up? Foreclosures. So then what they said was, okay, we're starting to lose our shirt on all these foreclosures, because even though we are getting these properties, the properties are not being well maintained. The people still owe us money. We got to fight to get the people out of the properties. We got to put them up for sale. And if the market goes down, we can't sell them for what we need. So we're taking a bath in these houses. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to charge everybody that doesn't own 80% of the equity of their house PMI.
Yes.
We are going to charge everybody deadbeat insurance, and everybody is going to chip in so that we, the banks, don't take a bath when we start foreclosing on your homes that you cannot afford. That's what happened.
Well, they're experts.
Yeah. So people buy homes that are too expensive that they can't afford. Then they put too little money down, or no money down if they can. I mean, people would literally borrow 120% of the value of their house with no money down and move in and not think about it at all. And what you end up doing is you end up paying hundreds of dollars extra
Per month.
every month.
Yes.
And you don't pay that until you get the equity in your house, where you pay off 20% and you have 20% equity and only 80% of the value of the house you owe on. Even when you get down to that number, you still pay that PMI for the entire term of your loan until you refinance the loan, which when you do that, it's going to cost you several more thousands of dollars
Yes.
to refinance your own home. And guess what? Interest rates might have gone up on that.
It sure could.
Okay, so now all of a sudden your payments are going up again. So you want to come to the closing with 20% down in order to purchase this house. And when you purchase the house, the purchase should be no more than 25%. The total cost of the house should be no more than 25% of your take-home pay.
You like
payment,
the
monthly
25% number.
I like that. Okay,
Yeah.
the
Well,
monthly
sure.
the monthly payment should be less than 25% of your net, of your monthly net.
Yep.
Now, nobody wants to do that. Nobody
Well, no,
likes
because when you run the numbers, you look at the house
Yeah.
and you go, like,
I don't want to live here.
never mind.
Yeah.
But and then what do you do about, well, this house stinks,
Mhm.
but I'm renting this other place.
Mhm.
Where do you make a decision as far as, like, you move into the crappy house where the numbers work? You keep on renting at the place that you feel more comfortable with, it's nicer, but you're renting.
Mhm.
What do you do about
Well, a couple
That's
things.
the
Number one, it comes down. What you got to do is major purchases like this, especially a house. You cannot make the purchase with emotions, which is the way we usually purchase things. That's why we buy houses we can't afford and cars that we can't afford and shouldn't have.
and too much sugar and whatever?
Yeah.
else? Sure.
So what we want to do is we want to make a purchase based on the numbers. So the situation that you're in is, if you are renting, are you saving money? Are you setting extra money aside every month where the amount that you're saving is going up continually and you will one day be able to purchase a home that you want? Okay, then you should continue doing that until you have the money.
Yeah.
Now, the biggest problem, and this is, when you go over finances with people, what I found is that every single person I've ever talked to about financial problems is willing to make one massive change in order to fix their finances.
A particular one?
The
Or
same
just-
one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Everybody is willing to make more money.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say, like, die. Yeah, they're willing to make more money.
Everyone is just fine with that one change.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I'll just make more money.
Yeah.
That'll fix the problem. I'm willing to do that, Patrick. Oh, well, God bless you. Zach, do you know that making more money is not the solution to almost anyone's financial problems?
Well, no, because we've talked about this. You could spend more. You could, there's all kinds of stuff that you could screw up.
It gets even worse. So making more money usually causes more problems because it is the mismanagement of money that creates the problem. Did you ever wonder why so many people that win the lottery file for bankruptcy within a year and they're worse off than they were? Yeah, they just got a windfall of millions of dollars. How could they possibly be in financial trouble? The reason they're in financial trouble is because they have no concept of how to manage money.
Yeah.
They don't have a plan for it. We call that plan a budget. So what do? They do the same irresponsible spending that they did before they won the lottery.
Yes.
You want to know one of those irresponsible spending habits that they had before they won the lottery?
Lottery tickets.
And lottery tickets.
Yeah.
So more money will typically not help a person out. When people make more money, they usually make a major stupid purchase. You know how we spell stupid in the financial sector?
Oh, tell me.
It's a 4-letter word. BOAT. Okay, that's how we spell stupid in finance.
I got a buddy who said that, he started talking about, instead of, he got so sick of talking about $1,000 increments when he had a sailboat.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's like in a harbor in Charlotte, North Carolina or something. He just started calling them boat units.
Yeah.
Because it
feels better than saying $1,000.
7 boat units. I was like, John,
that's insane. Yeah.
He's like, shh.
Yeah. No. Boat units. So, do you know what a boat is in the financial industry?
No.
Okay.
This is a real one. Like,
Yeah. So, a boat in the financial industry is a hole in the water that you fill with money.
Oh, yeah.
That's what a boat is.
Yeah.
So when people get a bunch more money, they start making more money, they usually make a stupid, I don't want to say investment, they make a stupid purchase. They buy a liability like a boat. Now, here's another thing. A lot of people don't understand that in finances, a house is a liability. And you will hear almost nobody say that. Houses are liabilities because
that's where we're getting to. Okay, I see you now.
Because what happens is as soon as you get the house, you don't start producing income from that house. It actually adds up additional expenditures.
Yes.
So now all of a sudden you have renovations and improvements. You have extra space for furniture. You have property taxes. So you are constantly spending money on this thing you call an asset.
Mm-hmm.
There is zero cash flow with most houses. It is usually a constant expense. So house is not helping you get ahead. Now, some people might buy a house and then sell it.
Sure.
But if you want to turn your house from a liability into an asset, it's easy to do. Move out.
Yeah.
No, just move out. And then have the people that move in
pay you. Sure.
And they are going to probably pay you a lot more than your mortgage payment. Bada bing, your house is now an asset. It's no longer a liability. But people have the wrong idea. So more money, they make a stupid purchase. And I'm not saying that a house is a stupid purchase.
No.
A house is a place that we need to live, but I don't want people thinking that it's an asset. Once in a while, houses will do you well when you make the purchase, and then years down the road you make a sale, and you can make money on it. I'm not saying that
it does increase in value.
You got it. It can.
Sure.
It doesn't always. Okay, people say that they are wrong.
Not every time for sure.
Okay, not my first house. Right. In 2008, talk to the people that bought in the middle of the summer of 2008 who wanted to sell in the middle of the summer of 2009 that their house was an asset.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
why did foreclosures go through the roof? Why? Because people were upside down on their mortgage. They bought the house for $300,000, and boom, 2008 housing market collapse. All of a sudden, over the course of the next calendar year, they are down 30, 40% on the
Yeah.
value of their house.
Gosh.
So now their house is worth $90,000 less than it was when they first bought it. So they have a house valued at $210,000. They bought it 1 year ago for $300,000. That was an amazing investment. Okay, which was an asset. And now something happened in their life. They have to move. They got a new job. They lost their job. Okay, so now they have this house and they need to sell it. Well, guess what? You can sell it.
Sure.
But you have to come up with a check for $90,000 to hand to the bank.
Yeah.
And then you walk away with nothing.
Yes.
So that's the problem with everyone like, oh, houses always go up. They always go up. Okay. If you want to say they always go up over the course of 40 years, sure.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. But that's not what we're dealing with. We're talking about our primary residency. We're not talking about a real estate investment.
Yeah.
Right. And if you can say that once I buy this, I do not need the money for 10 years or more, all right, well, that's fine.
Yeah. Fair enough.
That's a lot different. But to buy a house and be under the illusion that it's going to go up in value, and whenever I sell it, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah. So 3 years from now,
You got it. You don't know that.
Sure.
And where are we right now with housing prices? In the valley. Highest they've ever been in the history of the world?
Yeah. For sure.
Okay.
For
So
sure.
do we honestly think it's going to just keep going up and up and up? Isn't that what was going on in 2006, 7, and 8?
I was going to say, I think I remember something
Yeah,
about this.
this is exactly what happened, and it's happening again. And everyone, every realtor, every lender, they're all saying the same thing. They're like, oh, yeah, buy whatever you want. It's just going to keep going up. You're an idiot.
They're experts.
Yeah. So anyway, you're renting. You don't have a house. You can't afford the house that you want. Do you switch over and buy something just to get out of renting? I don't think you do.
And we did.
You want to make a purchase that makes sense, that you can afford, that'll be something that you and your family can live with. Because remember, when you make that purchase, maybe you have to live in it 5 years, maybe you have to live in it 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to live in it with that plan. When we bought the downtown house, $130,000, I don't know how much my house went down. I can't imagine a $130,000 house went down the same 30, 35, 40% as all the other houses, because it was already a 100-year-old, house that hadn't been remodeled since the 60s.
Sure. Oh, that's awesome.
You see, so I have trouble believing that it went down that much. My wife one day looked it up. And she told me, I don't remember the number she said, but she's like, oh, man, our house is worth so much less. Oh, what are we going to do? I said, sweetie, it's only worth less if we sell it.
Sure. Yeah.
And we're not planning on selling it.
You live in it.
We live in it. We like living in it. Everything is fine. Okay. So if you can make that purchase, it's a place that you want to live. Those are your plans. That's great. You also don't get to make plans because you don't have.
You do not
know. You don't know. So you don't know what's going to happen. So my only point is save up the money, buy the house when it makes financial sense. When you can put 20% down, you get a 15-year mortgage, and then you're going to be in the best position. So no matter what happens, you can deal with it, or you will have the best chance of dealing with it.
Right.
That anyone has.
Sure.
So that's really what you want to do. I don't think people should just rush to hurry up and get in a house and buy a house. Save up the money, wait another year. Look harder. Start looking around and asking people. I know folks who have you can go, and again, we're kind of on real estate, and that's kind of where we settled out, which is fine. If you want, and I have friends that are big into real estate. I'm into real estate. I've bought and sold lots of properties all over the country. I'm a fan of real estate. I don't want anyone thinking that I'm not. But there's a difference.
Yeah.
Almost every single property I've ever purchased for real estate has been a cash sale.
Wow.
Bought the thing for cash and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that way I knew, well, I can afford it.
Sure.
Okay, there, all I owe is taxes, once a year, and that's it. Depending on where you're buying it, sometimes those aren't very much. So for me, I am a fan of real estate. But I have a few friends that have actually gone up to junkers, dumps, and they knock on the door and they have a conversation with the people, and they're like, "Well, listen, are you in need of money?" And a lot of times it's an elderly person. They can't keep up on their home. And all of a sudden you got their attention. It's like, well, look, do you owe any money on the house? No, I don't. Great. You're in a perfect position. I have cash. I can give it to you. What do you say we strike up a deal? Okay. And you take this amount of money. And there are several ways to do it. You can tell them, I will draw up all the paperwork and you will carry the note. So I will make monthly payments to you, and you, after this long, have the right to call in the note whenever you want. So if you need a lump sum, you can get it. But just remember, and you can show them, say, look, this is your tax burden. So if you sell it, you're going to owe this much in taxes. But if you sell it to me and you carry the note, then I make a monthly payment to you every month, and you're able to move into and rent this nice, modestly sized condo that fits you. You don't have to mow the grass. You don't have to paint the siding. You don't have to do any of these things. And this payment will cover it. And they're like, holy cow, that'd be amazing.
Well, sure.
So I've had several friends that have worked out deals like that. Those deals do exist. Most people aren't willing to put in the footwork. They're not willing to figure it out. They're not willing to knock on the doors and talk to people. But you can get great deals, and those deals can benefit you and the seller who's selling you the property. I'm not saying it's easy to find, but I've found lots of deals.
Yeah.
So if you're willing, save up some more money, do a little bit of legwork, do a little bit of legwork, find a good deal. That is the reason to buy a house, not because you hate where you live and you want something new and shiny. And not like,
division is nice.
Yeah. And I have to hurry up and buy a house because I'm just throwing away money on rent. Yeah, you are throwing away money on rent, but guess what? When you get a mortgage, you're throwing away a lot of money on interest on the mortgage.
Yes.
Okay, yes, I understand. We're trying to pay off this house that might be worth something one day, and we want to do that. Yes. We want to be homeowners.
Sure.
But 3 months, isn't going to, a year, it's not going to make a difference. Save up the money. Save up the money so that you can put yourself in a good position, because if something bad happens, again, you got to remember, with the larger purchases, one big stupid mistake can set us back years.
Oh yeah.
With sound financial planning, flush down the toilet. Now we got to make up for this massive mistake.
Yep. No doubt about it. What about, you guys built this place?
Yes.
Right? And so is that, since I got two real estate questions.
Give them to me, man.
So I'm interested in building the place from the bottom up on your own. I know a little bit about how you use some different contractors. You did a lot of your own work.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering if you ever, in your real estate deals, have you ever just purchased raw land?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's most of what I've purchased.
Just raw land.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I bought land several different ways. Okay, I bought land that was, reasonably priced. I bought land through tax lien auctions where I got the land for a song. But here's the thing. The way we did it with, so
this land you bought to build on.
We did, but again, this land only made sense because of a few factors. We had a house that was livable. We actually had two. So we had the 100-year-old house that's just fallen apart that we're in the process of demoing.
Yeah,
that's on the property. Yeah. Then we had an illegal small house that is still on the property that was called an agricultural temporary dwelling.
Aha.
So the way it worked is that all this land that was farmland was mostly fruit trees. And what would happen is temporary agricultural workers would come through the area, they'd pick the fruit, prune the trees, and move on to the next, square mile. And there'd be all these 6, 8, 10, 12 acre lots. Every mile would have a agricultural temporary dwelling. One farmer would have a bunkhouse for these folks to stay in. And they'd move from one to the next during the seasons, and they'd be working these farms. So my property was the one that had this illegal dwelling. I called up the county and asked them if I could get an accessory dwelling permit and turn it into a livable unit. And they said, sure. Okay, the county, they needed money like they normally do. And they said, yeah, we'll take the permits.
Yeah.
And what we did was we looked at what we were getting the property for, and you got to remember, this property was given to us by God.
Yeah.
I will say that till the day I die. We looked for a property that would work for us for 8 years. Seriously, 8 years. We prayed and we looked and we gave up and got discouraged, and we prayed and we looked and we gave up and we got discouraged, and we did it for years and years and years. We did not have the money. God did not have the property for us. The timing all came together on this property when we had the money set aside after years and years and years of saving up. And we got this property where we called the bank and asked the bank about it. And I think it was like $114,000 or something like that. And then we were talking about it, and because it was a bank-owned property, we had to come up with cash. Well, we didn't have $114,000. So we go back and forth, and we finally say, you know what, we're never going to find a better one. Because we've looked. For 8 years, we've been looking. We know what stuff costs.
Yeah, you're aware.
We say, okay, we got to take it. So we end up calling our realtor and saying, hey, we want to give them the asking price. We want the property. And she said, I just hung up with the bank. They lowered the price $27,000.
What?
Yep. So we said, okay, well, that's wonderful. Give them that asking price.
Yeah, we'll take that one.
Yeah. So we got in, and we were the first one in line. And then I ended up talking to one bank who was willing to look at my financial statements because I was self-employed. So I wasn't a W-2 employee with a great tax history that showed I was making tons of money. I was a self-employed guy that showed I was broke on my taxes, because that's the goal. If you write off everything you can to pay as little as you can in taxes, that's the one benefit of being self-employed. So anyway, this one bank they said, okay, we're willing to lend you the money. The smallest mortgage we'll do is $50,000. I said, okay, well then I'll take that $50,000. And we came up with the remainder of the money, and we had to put some money down on the mortgage, and it came, so then our payment on the land, and we got a 30-year loan simply because we knew we were going to refinance the property and build a house on it. So we said, we want the smallest payment because it's temporary. It's only going to be a couple of years. We don't want to quickly pay it off. We just want the smallest payment so we have the most cash.
Yeah.
So then what we did is we came in and we immediately remodeled the temporary agricultural dwelling and made it a studio apartment and rented it out. So we rented that out. The utilities were in the name of the renter, which is what we always do. So they pay their own utilities, and they were paying us for that little, 350 square foot studio apartment. They're paying like $650, which was pretty reasonable at the time.
Yeah.
So now it's like, well, we have a $250 payment. We have $400 that this property is bringing in every month. Guess what this property is? It's an asset.
Yeah.
Because it's cash flowing $400 every month.
Sure.
This is great. So now we're not in a rush. Okay, if we can build a house today, great. But if not, we're getting this money and we're saving it up. So we save up money for 2 years. We end up renting out that 100-year-old house as well. Okay, because there was someone that was, and I had to do a little work, new hot water heater in it, whatever. Yeah. But it's bringing in money. So this place was bringing us in over $1,000 a month, and we're thrilled with the place. We're stocking away money as best as we can, and then we get to a point where we say, okay, we're ready to build, and bada bing, here we go. We pull the permits, we start the construction. Yeah. Then what we do is we build the house with the intention of building an apartment in the basement
Yeah.
one day for my mom and dad to live in
Yes.
when they get older.
Yes.
So what we do is we build a house with a big open basement, just a big open rectangle.
Okay.
And we live in there and it's, unfinished square footage.
Yeah.
Not heated, just a light bulb. Okay. Big open concrete box.
Yeah.
And then we save up and years later we finish the basement and we make it an apartment, which brings us in money,
Yeah.
which pays for our mortgage. So all of a sudden, bada bing, this property is
Yep.
an asset.
Asset.
Okay, so it is no longer a liability, it actually cash flows. Most people, again, are not willing to stick their neck out. They're not willing to save up the money. They're not willing to have that plan. They're not willing to. A lot of people are like, I'm not willing to deal with renters. Okay, fine.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. For me, I've dealt with renters for, I don't know, a dozen years or more, and it's always been a great deal for me. Other people pay for my properties. I've never, I've never taken it in the shorts on any of these properties. Sometimes there are difficulties, but if the properties are cash flowing and when your income rises, do your necessities rise with it? Or are you smart with that money and you set it aside and you save it? So guess what? Someone moves out, you need a new coat of paint, someone doesn't move in for a few months, it's not a big deal.
Right. It's not a big deal.
Okay, you got the money saved up. It's it's no big deal. So if you do that, it can be rental properties can be really, really good. On our property, we saved up an amount of money. We started construction, and my goal, and I would not recommend this. I'll tell you what I would recommend.
Yeah.
What I did was I worked somewhere between 4 to 5 days here building this house. And then I packed up all my tools, put them in the truck and trailer, worked for 2 or 3 days a week, trying to make enough money to make a living. And I worked 8 days a week, 250 hours a week.
Sure.
For almost 9 straight months while we were building this house. And I wasn't suicidal, but I was so depressed, I wanted to die.
Wow.
Okay. And I would not recommend doing it the way I did, but I knew that there was an end. I knew that there was light at the end of the tunnel. And I just had to put my head down and I had to get through it. And all of a sudden it would be worth it. And it was.
Yeah.
If I were to do it again, what I would suggest is you buy the piece of property. How much property do you need? Most people, an acre is all you will ever need.
Oh yeah, sure.
That is plenty for your garden. That is plenty for a nice big yard for the kids. That's plenty of room to store, your second vehicle or the camper. That's plenty of room for everything you want to do. Unless you're looking to seriously start, raising a couple cows or something, it's plenty of room. You get the acre. Then what you do is you save up the money and you get whatever you can afford, a single wide or a double wide. You set that sucker on there, you put it on a concrete foundation, and you start living it.
Yeah.
And you pay that thing down and you save up money. And then what you do is you build your dream home on that same spot. You put the trailer all the way up front by the road in the corner.
Yeah.
You put a little fence around it. Okay. And you start building that dream home for cash. You lay the foundation. Okay. Then you get the lumber package, you frame it in and dry it in.
You can build that it doesn't have to go up in 3 months.
No.
You can build a house in phases.
100%.
Yeah,
You get the concrete poured, it can sit there as long as you want. It ain't going to hurt anything.
Yeah.
Okay. Then after that, you frame it in and you dry it in. You put the wrap on the roof. You wrap the house with house wrap. It's bone dry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You put the windows and doors in. Bada bing. Okay. It's secure. The wood is not going to go bad. Sitting out. In the elements. Okay. And it's not getting wet. Okay, so it's not a problem. You save up, you put the roof on, you save up, put the siding on. At that point, you look at the house and it's like, wow, look at that. They got an amazing house. And you look inside and it's raw wood studs.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing in there.
Yeah, then you save up and you have the HVAC go in, then the plumbing, then the electric. And if you can do these things, first of all, if you can do them yourself, that's great. But if you can pay someone to do them for cash, you just do them as you're able.
Yeah.
If you have to take out a loan on that house, that's fine. I don't see a problem doing that. But for us, we took out a loan for as little as humanly possible. And then what we ended up with is when we sold our downtown house, we didn't sell it immediately. So we rented our downtown house. We moved into here and we already had that studio apartment bringing us in an amount of money.
Yeah.
So our house was still, it wasn't bringing in more money than it cost us every month, but it was bringing in money.
Yeah.
And then we remodeled the basement and bada bing, someone moved in there and they started renting. And all of a sudden, now it's
Yeah. Equal.
you got it. It's
Equalish.
you got it. So it's bringing in more money than it cost us, and it's an asset. And if you're able to build the house in phases, you do the foundation, you do the framing, you do the roof, you do the siding, you start doing it like that. Do as much as you can in cash, and then basically when your wife is ready to kill you, then take out a loan, finish off that house, move into it. But you're moving out of the double wide trailer that you want. And as soon as you move into the house, what do?
You rent
out that trailer. Okay. And with any luck, you're renting that for the cost of what it is to live on that property. And you just got rid of your mortgage payment. Yeah. Now, that's not going to be a plan that you're going to put into action and get done in 6 months. Sure. It might be a multi-year plan. But
just imagine living with no debt, no mortgage.
Yeah,
that's a game changer.
It really is. All of a sudden, you can really do whatever you want. Again, most people are not willing to do it. They want the new, shiny, clean, neat, modern house in subdivision where everyone can see it and everything looks great. And the problem is, initially, your life is going to look pretty good. And you're going to feel comfortable and you're going to like it, but you're not going to have much money. It's all going to be tied up.
It's stressful.
Yep, it's going to be real stressful. And then what's going to happen is all of a sudden you turn around and you're 65 years old. And you still got to work for a long time because you have not been saving money. You have not been investing money. You have not been planning for the future. Where do you think money for investing comes from? It's the money left over at the end of the month that you didn't spend.
Sure, of course.
And if everyone has their budget completely capped out because they bought the house for too much money that the bank said they could afford, even though they knew they probably shouldn't get it, and you have to get real nice new cars to go with that house, you can't drive junkers up to a brand new house. I mean, what are the neighbors going to think? So you start going down that road, and all of a sudden you're going to turn around and, you're going to be working until you're 70 years old and you're not going to have 2 nickels to rub together. Or you can spend most of your life looking like, you drive an old vehicle, you wear clothes that you get at a thrift store, you get furniture given to you. Every single piece of furniture we have, except for this one couch, was given to us. I'm not going to buy new furniture. I have 6 kids.
And some of them are still little.
Yeah. My youngest is 8. I got 6 kids and a dog, and you want me to buy new furniture? You're out of your mind. No, it's going to get destroyed. But a lot of people are not willing to do that. They want to feel rich, even though they're actually poor. And they're going to do that for 20, 30, 40 years of their life until they realize, all right, we're actually poor, and now we're going to remain poor forever. You got it.
Ramsey says, live like no one else now, so you can live like no one else.
Yes.
Yeah. So, because the way that everybody else is living is paycheck to paycheck, not saving money, not investing much.
Yeah.
With all the stuff they can't afford.
So one of the cute little sayings I really like is people need to act their wage.
After the wage. That's funny. That's
Okay.
funny.
Because, and I tell folks this all the time, look, there's nothing wrong with being rich. There's nothing wrong with being rich. There's only something wrong if you are rich and you try to act like you're super rich. There's nothing wrong with being middle class. There is something wrong with being middle class and trying to act like you're rich. And there's nothing wrong with being poor. There's something wrong with being poor and trying to act like you're middle class.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, it's fine. I have friends who are very poor. I have friends who are very rich. Okay. They're all nice people.
Just act your wage.
You got to act your wage.
That's pretty good.
So that's what people are doing is they're trying to impress people. They're trying to look like something that they're not. And I mean, who are we trying to impress, for crying out loud? You know,
You ever met anybody?
yeah, no kidding.
So people are the ones that are trying to, trying to impress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not really into it. Well, I'm hoping you and Caleb maybe talk a little bit about investing. I don't want to throw my 2 cents at him, but
Yeah.
I know he does.
No, I'll be happy to do that. Caleb's a train wreck when it comes to investing. And that'll be fun to talk about.
Is he really?
Well, no, Caleb's had some really good ideas. Caleb and I have gone in on some stuff together, and it's been really good. And Caleb is not scared to try different things.
Oh, cool.
So Caleb is more than happy to get it to find creative ways to make money. He has not been willing to do a few of the things that I've told him I've had the most success with. But Zach, almost nobody
I was going to say, that's not news to
is
you.
willing to do any of the things that I've had the most success with at all. Everyone,
Yeah.
no matter, I mean, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Okay. I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen. Everyone is going to make fun of Patrick for all of his ideas as far as creative ways to make money. Now, understand, the number one way you make money and you make money that you're going to use to invest to get rich is your job.
Yeah.
Your job, your business, whatever your occupation is, that's where money comes from for wealth creation. That's the number one place. But the way I believe, and this is different from Dave Ramsey, so understand, and I'm okay being different from Dave Ramsey. And
Sure.
he's obviously okay being different from me because he's doing way better than I am. Yeah. That guy is doing great.
Yeah.
But for me, what it comes down to is risk tolerance. Most people are very, very risk averse.
Yeah.
They are so scared of losing $1 that they will put their money in things that will never make them a penny.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is that if you're scared to lose money, you'll never make it because you're just going to earn your money. You're probably not even going to invest it in stocks, in mutual funds.
Just save it.
I mean, yeah, just under the cushion, in the couch cushion,
Yeah.
in the jar on top of the fridge. And that is the worst thing you can do with your money. You want your money out there working out. You want your money doing bench presses and squats. And, you want it sweating and making little baby money for
But
you.
you clearly have, you got the emergency cash fund in the safe.
Oh, yeah.
But outside of that,
Yeah.
it's not like.
It's not in the safe, by the way.
Oh, it's not.
No, it's in a Capital One 360 Flex savings account earning 4.3% annually.
Look, savings. Yeah.
Okay, but either way, yeah, I mean, so for me, what I'm willing to do is I'm willing to take a small amount of money. The Dave Ramsey suggests 15% of your income going to retirement investments, which is great. We do more than that.
Yeah.
Okay. Because our goal for our whole life has been live way below our means, pay off all of our debt, stay out of debt. And when you live way below your means, the amount of extra money you have is much more. Well,
Sure.
the more you can throw at it, the faster you can reach your goal.
Of course.
Okay. So I have always been okay with taking a very small amount of money and putting it in extremely high risk investments.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, when I say extremely high risk, I don't consider them to be extremely high risk. Other people would.
They are considered.
Yes.
Well, and also a small amount. I think you generally mean an amount that you are okay
If it just disappears.
If
If it goes to zero, that's fine. But these are the things that I've had 20x, 30x returns on.
Sure.
And for me, there are so many people that have never had anything that's been 10x or more in a calendar year. And once you hit that, so my highest, and I'll have to look it up, but I have several that have hit 30x. And to put $1,000 into something and turn around and in one calendar year be able to sell it for over $30,000, that's all the idea of a CD at a bank making 2.5% is laughable.
Yeah, you're like,
You're like, are you kidding me? Like, that's a joke. People are not willing to look for these investments. They're not willing to learn about these investments, and then they're not willing to risk capital.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, there's plenty of things where you make a very modest return. That's okay.
Sure.
There are some things that, and Zach, I've had several things that have made 10, 12, 15x, but it was on $300-400.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's not like I'm retiring off of that money.
Sure.
But the point is, how long would that $300, $400, $500? How long would it have taken to turn into, $10,000 or $12,000? If I was earning that,
even at 10%,
even at 10% annually,
sure.
Okay, it's going to take a lifetime. So for me, I've always been okay with doing riskier investments than, say, Dave Ramsey would recommend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm okay. Now, and here's, boy, I can go in so many different directions. If you take your money and you do rational position sizing, so we're going to invest this amount of money this year.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to invest $10,000 and we're going to invest it into higher risk stuff. And let's say that our goal is to find 20 different things to put our money into. And we put our money into IPOs, okay, initial public offerings. Okay. We're going to put our money into properties, and we're going to try to find foreclosed, non-tax lien, auction property, really cheap stuff. Okay, we're going to put our money into bet on the Kentucky Derby. I don't care. Okay,
Sure.
We're going to put our money into riskier things. I don't need all 20 to pan out.
Sure.
I need one to pan out.
Well, yeah, when you're talking about 10 or 20x.
You got it.
Yeah.
I need one or two to pan out to make that $10,000 double in that year. So I'm okay with losing 17 or 18, having them go to zero, or making modest gains on them.
Yeah.
And then what you do is you sock that money away, and now you got it. And now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do rational position sizing. We're going to do it on an amount of money that if we lose, no one's going to be happy losing the money, but we're willing to take a risk on some riskier things in order to be able to move the needle on our wealth and get us closer to, what we want to do. A lot of people just aren't willing to do that. They're so scared of losing the money.
Do you do some lower risk stuff too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We put money every single month, okay, we max out our Roth IRAs.
Yeah.
Every single month. $500 for Joanna, 500 for me. I don't even think that's maxing it out. I think you can donate like $6,500 now.
A year.
Yeah, a year. So, you have to make like 13 payments of $500 or whatever it is. We max those out, and that money goes into mutual funds.
Yeah.
Okay. Joanna and I also contribute to mutual funds that are not in a Roth IRA, but you can do a traditional IRA. Okay, we do that.
Yeah.
We have someone that manages that money for us.
Right.
We also have an amount of money that I manage. So I'm going to pick the individual stock. I'm going to pick what I'm going to put the money into. Most people are not willing to do that because they put their money into something and it goes down and they panic and they freak out. They're scared to lose it. And they sell it at a loss and they take it back out.
You're watching it every 4 seconds.
You got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, wait, 4 cents.
You got it. Yeah. Yeah. So you can't do that. If someone's going to do that, don't manage your own money. Hire a professional to do it and just let them do it. And what you're going to do is you're going to check in with them every quarter, maybe every 6 months, depending on how good of a track record they have and how much you trust them. And you're just going to check in and you're going to see how they're doing. And that's it. And you're going to trust them, to do it because they're professional and they have a good record. Again, not hiring your friend. Okay. Not your friend's wife, who's the realtor. Okay. You're going to hire a professional who does this.
I can see it, man.
Oh, yeah.
Your head turning red.
Oh, brother, I'll tell you. So again, I manage a certain amount, and I pick what it's going to go into. A lot of people should not do that on their own. I'm going to pick everything from lower risk individual stocks with great dividends, that companies that have been around longer than I've been alive.
Yeah.
I'm also going to put money into much riskier, like I said, IPOs. I really like IPOs. Okay. So a company that is growing, they're doing well, there's a market, they're moving forward, and they decide, look, it's time for us to go public, get a bunch of cash. We can open up, additional factories. We can multiply the system that we already have that's proven to work for several years. And you get in there and you can buy stock for pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters. And all of a sudden, the stock comes out, in the IPO, they get an assessment and it's going to be for, $10 a share, $4 a share, whatever it is. And it's like you've already 8, 10, 12, 15 extra money, depending on what the IPO came out, what you paid for and what it came out at.
Sure.
So I'm a big fan of a lot of those. Anyway, if you are terribly risk averse, you're going to have a harder time. You're going to be slower. It's going to take longer to, make the money. If you're okay with higher amounts of risk, Zach, I'll tell you what, a really great one that I had just last year. A friend of mine, I tell the story all the time to people. I said, a friend of mine called me up. He said, hey, my nephew's, sister-in-law or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is.
He has this trailer and he needs to sell it. And he needs to sell it because he has to move. He has to get over to Denver to help, just whatever kind of nonsense, stupid drama was going on. I don't know.
Yes.
I didn't. And my friend said, Patrick, you got a bunch of cash, right? I said, well, yeah, I don't know what a bunch is, but sure, what's going on? He said he has this trailer and he needs to sell it because he needs some cash to go do the whatever. I say, okay, well, you got a picture of the trailer? He said, yeah. So he sent it to me and I look up the VIN, I look up the dimensions, and I look up the trailer online. And I'm like, all right, this thing's selling, brand new for this and used for that. And I said, yeah, send them over. Maybe I'll buy it. And he comes over and I check over the trailer. I have 3-4 trailers on this property right now. I deal, it's not like I've never bought and sold a trailer. It's part of my business with construction. So I looked this thing over and, I'm like, I got to imagine I'm going to be able to sell this thing for like $6,000. He wanted $1,500 for it. And I said, all right, here you go. There you go. Sign the title. Go get the thing. $50 later, I got new plates on it and the stickers, and the thing's mine. I immediately put it up for sale. It was, I don't know, maybe 2 months it took me. And I started getting calls. I had some people stop by. I had a fellow stop by. I want to say he gave me, I think it was under $7,000. I think it was like $6,500. So again, 4x my money.
Yeah.
Took me 2 months. I had $1,500. I turn around, I have, $6,500. I made $5,000 for really doing nothing but signing a piece of paper, driving to the DMV and getting new plates and stickers, and then signing a piece of paper a second time.
Right. But you have the cash.
You had the cash because you were living below your means and you saved money.
You weren't in any kind of emergency.
No, there was no. So we took advantage of someone that needed money fast and offered. It's not like I beat him up over the price. He came there and said, I need $1,500. Will you give me that for this trailer? I looked it over. I inspected it for 5 minutes, and that was it. So had the cash, willing to take the risk. And so here was my thought at the end of it. Am I going to be able to sell the thing for $1,600?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And
then I made $50.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the worst case scenario. Did I waste an hour of my time and make $50? All right. I wasted an hour of my time that cost me a lot more than that.
Yeah. But when it pans out,
you got it. And those things are everywhere. They're everywhere. People don't have the cash and they're not willing to take a little bit of risk. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. If someone came to me and said, hey, Patrick, I've got this plane, I'd say, well, that's great.
That's good.
You want to know what I know about planes? Bupkis.
Yeah, they fly.
Yeah, yeah.
That one might
I have no idea. All right. It doesn't have a rear view mirror on it. I don't know if I want that thing. Is that even street legal?
I'm not doing that.
So I would not buy a plane. I don't know anything about planes.
Yeah.
I do know stuff about trailers. I know stuff about real estate. I know stuff about construction businesses. There's and I operate inside of those things. Okay, you ready for this? Here's another.
Yeah.
And we should we're
almost
2 hours.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go to bed.
Okay, so here's another one that people have not enough people have figured out. I hired a guy to give me financial advice.
Okay. It
cost me a little over $10,000 to get this guy's financial advice.
Wow.
He's made me hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Hundreds of
thousands of dollars.
Well, what is it that people don't?
So here's the deal. And this happens with a lot of guys. Someone who is very successful at picking stocks. They work for a hedge fund.
Mm-hmm.
They get promoted. They become a VP of
whatever.
Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs, go down, whatever. After a while, they say, okay, well, we can do this on our own and make some real money. They start their own hedge fund. And then they usually, by that time, they already have hundreds of millions of dollars to their name. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these guys retire, but they like the industry. They already have all these contacts. So what they end up doing is they end up selling a subscription service where you can buy their leads. And they will, every month, make this many recommendations, sometimes more, sometimes less. Sometimes it's, pharmaceutical, sometimes it's tech, sometimes, whatever it is. But they will tell you, buy this up to this price. This is how long I think we're going to have to hold it, maybe less, maybe more. And then when it's time to sell, they send you an email and you get their newsletter, time to sell.
And you sell it.
You got it. And I have bought several subscriptions, lifetime memberships. And a lot of these, they say you can pay this much a month or this much a year. Or if you're willing, you can just go ahead and come all in and you get a lifetime subscription for lump sum. And for that, what do they care? They just add you to the email. Okay, we're sending it out to one more guy.
Yeah,
and and he paid a lifetime subscription for whatever, several $1,000s. So I think I have 7 of these. I might have more. And and several I've bought for thousands of dollars. Several I've bought for a couple $100s. And I have these lifetime subscriptions to these different guys that give financial advice. And they say buy, I buy. They say sell, I sell. Their win percentage is massively higher than I could ever do on my own.
Sure.
Okay. So I take some of my money and I throw it at that.
Yeah.
There's people.
Clearly, it works.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the percentages are high enough.
Absolutely. And my wife and I looked at that.
There's going to be lost.
Yeah. And there are. Oh, yeah.
Lost.
Absolutely. There are things that are going to go to zero. But again, what you do is you do rational position sizing. You figure how many items is this guy going to say to invest in each month? 4. How much money do you have to play with? $2,000. All right, we're going to throw $500 at each.
Yeah.
And that's it. Now, sometimes there's going to be a big winner and you're like, boy, I wish I threw all $2,000 at that one. Of course. But there's also one next to it that went to zero. So we don't do that. We do rational position sizing. And that way, when you win and you win big, it's going to cover dozens and dozens of losses. There are people out there that are much smarter than me, and I've learned to hire them and do what they say.
Sure.
It's not that complicated.
Yeah.
Again, are people willing to find these folks out and pay them the money and then follow their advice? So
these are the guys you find on the YouTube ads, right?
No, they're not. Now, believe it or not, once you start finding these guys, reputable guys advertise with reputable guys.
Yeah, sure.
So they will, and they know each other. And a lot of times it'll be like, okay, look, this guy. There's one guy that I really like listening to. His name is Jeff Brown. If you are into tech and AI and all kinds of, technology, everything, which I know very little about. But I like hearing about it, reading about it, and learning about it. This guy, Jeff Brown, is for you. Okay. I don't even remember the name of his fund. I don't know, Brownstone, or I don't know what it is. Okay. Just look up Jeff Brown Tech. Okay. Investor, and you'll be able to find it. I really like this guy, and I really like listening to him. I've listened to him on several nationally syndicated radio shows. I mean, this guy is all over the place. He's not an idiot.
Yeah.
And I got turned on to this guy from the guy that I hired to give me advice. And again, it's one more of those where it's like they know each other. And the guy that I go through, he's like, if you want to know about tech, this is the guy.
Yeah.
This is the guy that we check with when we're talking about a tech investment and we need something explained to us.
Yeah. Because
that is his wheelhouse. That's where he lives. So again, it's not hard. None of this is secret information. Okay. None of it is, we had to climb a mountain and ask, some guru about it. Again, are people serious about finding out where to invest their money or not? If they are, they're going to pick up a newspaper, they're going to pick up a magazine, they're going to buy a book, they're going to start doing a little bit of research, and they're going to figure out where they feel safe, where they're going to get a good return, and they're going to start going in that direction. What I would tell everyone is I'd say pick an amount of money. I don't care how much it is. Okay, you can pick a fictitious amount of money. Say you have $10,000, paper $10,000 on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and keep track.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna invest in MRO, Royal Company, and I'm going to invest in. Just go down the list of these things. Start doing your own homework and figuring this out, and keep track and see how you do after 6 months or a year. If you're doing really well, maybe you want to make that actual money.
Yeah. Do something.
But so many people are so busy and they're not willing to put any time into their financial future. For me, it was many, many years ago, Zach, that I decided I want to be filthy, stinking rich.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get there by just hoping so and buying a scratch off every 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's not going to happen by accident.
No. So I had to put in some effort to get going there. And I'm not there yet. I still work. I'm not retired and just a pastor who doesn't need the money. Okay. I'm a lot closer to there than a lot of people.
You are.
I'm moving there, and and the future looks good because we started back in my 20s, being smart with getting out of debt, paying for cash for things, living way below our means, just applying all these principles, and then you turn around and one thing that I started doing just a little while ago was getting in shape. Okay, I started dieting, I started working out, nothing insane, but I started putting time and energy into it.
Yes.
So I was moving forward. I was moving the needle.
Yes.
And what I found is after just a couple months, I'm amazed at how much weight I lost and how much better I feel and how much stronger I feel. But this is a long-term goal. How am I going to feel in 6 months? How am I going to feel in 2 years?
Sure.
It's the same with our finances. We're not in it for a get-rich-quick scheme. We're in it for, nope, I'm going to make changes in my life that I'm going to apply for the rest of my life. How am I going to feel in 5 years?
Well, and you're going to be using money forever.
You might as well do it well.
Yeah, you may as well do it well every time you do it. There you go. Awesome, man. There's more to go.
Yeah.
That's 2 hours worth of it anyway.
No, that's great. I think we had a good time chatting. We got some people watching here. I'm not sure who, but we're going to say this. We're going to say thank you, everybody, for joining us on the Bible Thumper Podcast, where somebody's got to say it. My name is Patrick Hayes. This is Zach King. And we had a good time talking about money. And for the first 4 Wednesday nights in January in Grand Junction, Colorado, we are going to have a financial seminar taught by me at my church, the Church of Grace. Find us on, all you got to do is go to podcast.com, find the YouTube channel, the Facebook page. There's going to be a link somewhere for the Church of Grace Facebook page. You're going to find an event. You'll find information on it. So you can email me. You can contact us. You can find this podcast anywhere and everywhere you listen to podcasts. Please get on, listen, share, subscribe, rate, review, like, whatever you can do. Whatever the platform is, whatever button they have that I want you to push that button, okay? And then share this podcast with someone if you enjoyed it. And we are going to record all of those financial seminars. You're going to be able to watch them on YouTube. We're going to put them on Spotify so you can just listen to them. They will be a great help. Please tune in for those and share them around, especially with someone who's a teenager, someone in college age, someone who's newly married. It will help them more. They will have a greater opportunity to make massive changes in their life and see the effects many years down the road. So please spread it around. Zach, thank you for joining us.
You got it.
We'll talk to you in a month.